Well, everyone, we've looked at this guy's videos before, AVV Gaming. He's done some other videos that are very interesting, and I'm a big fan of. And he did another video called How The Witcher 3 Destroyed Bethesda, and I thought this was interesting because I have said that I think The Witcher 3 was like the first domino that really started to go against Bethesda, because, and we're going to see his video and how he argues it, but what I think happened is Fallout 4 came out in 2015, of course, and The Witcher 3 did as well. The Witcher 3 actually came out before Fallout 4, however. And what happened was fascinating. And this is a story that not just applies to me, but I think applies to a lot of you guys too, back a decade ago at this point. Oh. What happened is, like, if this is our timeline, like May was like right here, okay? May. And this is when The Witcher 3 launches, okay? Right here, this is Geralt right here, okay? We'll give him some hair. Oh, he's sexy. This is Geralt, okay? He launches in May. It's really buggy though. It's not looking good. It's making us sad. It's super buggy. But it was kind of a niche release. People didn't, like, it didn't have the same mainstream appeal as Fallout. And in May, all of the hype was around Fallout 4 because it had been rumored for a long time. And what happened is in June, they revealed Fallout 4 and it's like, oh my God, it looks amazing. It's gonna be amazing. Todd done it again. He's wearing his leather jacket, so sexy. And then it comes out in, was it November, I believe? It ended up coming out. So in November, it releases and we get Fallout 4. But by this point, The Witcher 3 had been patched up and was really, really solid. And what happened was a lot of people played Fallout 4, were disappointed by it, and were like, oh, this is like a really bad RPG. Oh, this is kind of like lame and it lacks consequence and the writing is pretty stupid. There's a bajillion plot holes just across the board. It's not great as an RPG, like as an open world adventure FPS, like it's pretty solid. But as a Bethesda game, as an RPG, it's just not very good. And so then they started looking elsewhere. It's right around the time of the Game Awards. There's discourse over all the nominations. People see The Witcher 3's been nominated. It has amazing reviews and everything. Some videos start going viral of comparisons between Fallout 4 and The Witcher 3, and people try it. People play The Witcher 3. They see how much better it is as an RPG, as a narrative game, how even production value with like cutscenes and facial animations and everything is way better than Fallout 4. And they decide, okay, this is the definitive game. This is the RPG. And that's when the narrative started shifting, that Bethesda had fallen off and these other new players in town were showing them how to do it. And that has been reiterated time and again in the last handful of years, whether you look at live service offerings like Fallout 76, or even with Starfield, where Starfield launches right next to Baldur's Gate 3, like within a couple weeks, actually, I believe. And we all know how that went in terms of RPG comparisons and stuff, which one had the more compelling writing. Can you imagine even trying to have that debate? Like, I actually think Starfield's writing is better than the Baldur's Gate 3. Can you imagine trying to debate that? I need you guys to hunt through the internet and find somebody who would make that argument. We'll have them on. We'll have a debate because I think that would just be freaking hilarious. But anyway, let's look at this and hear his argument for how The Witcher 3 destroyed Bethesda. Real quick, also, if you're watching this as a stream clip, I'm doing a giveaway for a PS5 Pro, okay? This is just our August giveaway. We're gonna be giving away even more things throughout the rest of the year. But all you have to do is put your info in here, you sign up, and then you get specific entries for each of these activities. You subscribe to the main channel, live channel, clips channel, you get extra entries. It's free to enter, and you could win a PS5 Pro because I love you and I want to give back to you. I'll have the link added to my link tree as well. So you go down to the link tree, all my links, and you can click it and get access to it there, okay? With that said, let's get into it. What you got? What you got, AVV Gaming? Bring it on.
Let's go back to 2015. Up until this point, Bethesda...
Wait. Okay, I'm back in 2015.
were leading the way in the gaming industry, setting the standards and raising the bar. Alongside Rockstar, they were the studio producing the most outstanding games, and when it came to the open world RPG space, they were untouchable.
People forget, back to back to back, I think, Game of the Year wins. Because Oblivion, Fallout 3, and then Skyrim, like almost universally acclaimed, and everybody agreed like they were the best games of their years. Like they were the kings. People, again, like nowadays, the idea that BGS would be like those guys where anytime they release anything, it's Game of the Year. It's kind of weird to think about that. But that was a decade plus ago. That's where they were. They were the guys that could do no wrong.
Morrowind changed gaming forever in 2002, showcasing how these type of games could thrive on console. Oblivion won Game of the Year in 2006. Fallout 3 almost won in 2008.
It's tricky because you got to figure out which Game of the Year award you're talking about. Because nowadays we have the Game Awards, which people usually are referring to when they say, did it win Game of the Year? They mean the Game Awards one. Back then we had like the Spike TV Awards, and G4 had their own awards. IGN had their own awards. There were a bunch of different ones, so I guess you got to be more specific. But Fallout 3, you know, without a doubt, even if it didn't win the award we're talking about, still amazingly well received.
And then, in 2011, Bethesda surpassed their own high expectations with the release of Skyrim. They won the Game of the Year again. The game sold over 60 million copies and is currently regarded as one of the greatest video games of all time with a near-perfect score. Bethesda didn't just make games, they pushed boundaries.
They made experiences with
16 times the detail.
And they succeeded at it. And, you know, one thing we meme on Bethesda a lot, I know, because it's funny. We light the Todd candles because he does instill and bestow blessings of detail upon us. But I don't like the revisionist stuff that we can often fall victim to and fall into. Because, yes, Starfield was mid. Yes, I think Fallout 4 was not a great RPG, and like if you play it as an adventure game, you can have a good time with it, but I don't think it's a masterpiece far and away, and I don't think it's as good as the previous Fallout games. Brand, thank you for the membership, or for the sub, by the way. But what I've seen some people do is go back and be like, actually, Skyrim sucks ass. And I don't think that's fair, because we can't look at games from 2011 through a 2025 lens and be like, yeah, sucks. Because you would hope that games from 2011 would feel underwhelming by today's standards. If it didn't, we wouldn't have made any progress in the 14 years since. So, of course, it should feel lackluster in comparison to modern stuff because we've grown. That does not mean that it was bad for the time. Like, you got to look at it through the lens of the time period that we're discussing. Otherwise, we're just not being fair, you know? Oh, you can, yeah, but you can swim in Skyrim. That's fair.
They made games that other studios couldn't even fathom. Massive open worlds, hundreds of quests, exceptional dungeons, and decent role-playing to boot. Others could...
I do appreciate the subtle, decent role-play. Not great. Decent, though. Decent. Yeah, well, they were fun sandbox games, and there weren't really a lot of other people doing it at the time either. And it's the one thing to remember, again, remove ourselves from the modern period, I guess. Open worlds were kind of rare at the time that like Bethesda was really doing it pretty well. Fallout 3, you know, Oblivion, Skyrim, these games were huge, especially for the time, but there weren't a ton of competitors trying to do similar things. Like, yeah, Ubisoft was starting to experiment. By the time you hit like Skyrim in 2011, they were starting to experiment with more open games. But even games that released in like 2012, like Assassin's Creed 3, they sort of had open worlds, but the maps were pretty damn limited and small. So even Ubisoft was in their infancy when it came to open world stuff. So they were kind of the only ones doing it before anybody else was doing it on this scale, and it helped. You know, only other guys, like he said earlier, were probably Rockstar. They were coming out swinging with massive maps and big open worlds, but there really were not that many people doing it.
Only offer a portion of what a Bethesda title could. And then, in 2015, they released Fallout 4, and it looked like they'd done it again. At the Game of Year Awards, Todd Howard sat there, waiting to pick up yet another prize. But then, something happened. They lost to The Witcher 3. CD Projekt Red had come out with their own version of a Bethesda-like title, an open-world RPG.
Hold on, do you remember what happened when they announced that? Do you remember? Hold on. Hold on. I have to show you, otherwise you might not appreciate it. It is
We are giving
classic.
away.
Okay. It's this moment at the very end. Do you remember what somebody in the audience yelled out? Game of the year.
All right.
It better not be Fallout.
For game of the year. You guys ready? Okay. Fan choice. And the winner for game of the year 2015 is
I swear to God.
Witcher 3.
I swear to God. It better not be Fallout. Dude, it was classic. It was classic. Okay. Freaking hilarious. So whenever I see that video clip of Jeff standing there with the green background, and it's like, the winner is, you got to remember the guy, I don't know who it was in the crowd. Don't say Fallout. I swear to God. So good. Anyway, sorry.
And they didn't just beat Bethesda, they managed to surpass them in almost every way. This new title had better combat, better writing, better side quests, more RPG mechanics, and an even bigger world.
And Booba. That was also a big helper. People like mature themes, my friends. They do. They do. Call us gooners, call us immature little boys, whatever. But it, like, I think in the age that this released, that helped it come off as more mature and
can't wait to see top sitting front
meaty.
row again when it's time to collect GOTY for ES6 and The Witcher 4 gets announced as the winner.
Dude, thank you for the 10, first of all. But yeah, it looks like Elder Scrolls 6 and The Witcher 4 very well could be releasing in the same year, which would be poetic. It would be beautiful. It would be beautiful. But unironically, I think that very well probably does happen. Yeah. But, you know, speaking of that, I think, again, this is in the age of, like, you know, Game of Thrones. This is in the age of people wanting more mature content that doesn't treat them like they're in middle school anymore, that is willing to show more adult themes, whether that be sexual themes or violent themes or what have you, even just dark narrative themes like the Bloody Baron questline, which is one of the most moving and memorable quest lines in any video game I've ever played. And you have nothing in terms of that depth and complexity and seriousness in any of Bethesda's games, period, you know? But it's that sort of serious subject matter and respecting the players to be able to handle it that I think separates it out and makes it feel like a game for adults versus a game for children, you know? That's the difference. That's the difference.
They didn't just match a Bethesda title, they did everything better. This was a landmark moment in gaming where everything would change forever, the start of a new standard of RPG and the decline of Bethesda. Now you might be watching this video thinking, well, I don't really like Witcher 3, but it's important to know that this...
Yeah, does anyone agree with that sentiment? You don't like Witcher 3? Just keeping an eye out for who I need to ban. No. Caught you!
moment would literally change gaming forever, whether you like that game or not. In this video, I will explain how Witcher 3 raised the bar in everything an open world could offer and how it made life harder for Bethesda. So without further ado, let's get into it. Quick side note, if you're new here and enjoy video game analysis and discussion, please consider subscribing.
Yes, subscribe.
So first of all, let me explain what the Bethesda blueprint was up until The Witcher 3's release. Their titles would provide massive open worlds where you could go anywhere and do anything. Their games would offer a huge world to explore, which would be filled with activities to take part in. There would also be hundreds of side quests to complete alongside a main quest as well. Players could expect hundreds of hours of content opposed to the usual 20 or so that other games would offer. Now, there was an accepted trade-off here. The side quests were often short and lacked much in story. The RPG mechanics were quite shallow. The gameplay was simplistic and the writing was incredibly one-dimensional. Characters were forgettable and there were glitches and bugs galore. But there was this unwritten rule. We, as gamers, knew that due to the scope of the game, it would have to sacrifice quality. Right?
Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it.
Logan Levesque donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Love how Stellar Blade, which has zero sex or nudity, is a gooner game, but BG3, which has bare sex and eldritch sex, isn't. Make it make sense. Also, can we PLZ get Todd? He needs to be here.
Oh, you're right, Logan. I forgot Todd. Todd's in the closet still, guys. Or he might be crammed behind. He's close to the closet. He's over there. I'll grab him in a second. But I think the difference is that Stellar Blade is much more forward with its with the sexual themes, I guess you could say. It just gets it right up in your face. You know, jiggling about. Whereas Baldur's Gate, it makes you work for it. You know? Like, it's there, but you got to work for it. You know, Stellar Blade is the bowl of peanuts. Baldur's Gate is the bowl of pistachios. You have to crack open to get to the nut. You know, they're still nuts, but you got to work for one. Let's continue.
Writing would be weak, but we got so many stories that we expected it. Side quests would lack depth because there were hundreds to complete.
Or they were radiant and never ending. I think that this is a crucial piece to understand and appreciate, is that Bethesda made amazing games for their time, but certain things that were acceptable for the time are no longer acceptable. And I think that that is something that they are learning now, is that what they could get away with and what was Bethesda charm 10 years ago is now unacceptable. Having a game with like horrible game-breaking bugs was kind of charming 10 years ago. Now it's unacceptable.
Donated $10 through
I guess
Super
15
Chat.
years ago.
Don't forget the candle.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Way ahead of you, my friend. He's already burning with us. He's already burning with us. We lit him off earlier in the stream. I don't remember why, but we did. He's always with us, burning, keeping us warm with the light of his detail. Praise be. May Todd be with you. Praise be. Boone, 17 months. Ooh, baby. Thank you, my friend. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Make sure to enter the giveaway for the PS5 Pro. Links pinned in the chats, and I'll put it in the link tree after the stream. Get over there. Enter. We got this. Okay. Okay. Anyway, continuing.
Acting was limited and characters were forgettable because there were so many to meet, and there were bound to be bugs because of how much content there was. Essentially, players accepted shortcomings in many aspects in exchange for the size of the game. In the days of Skyrim, you either got a quality, well-written short game or a giant open world game which had more content, but usually of a more basic standard. Witcher 3 would change this forever, and I will explain this aspect one by one.
Because it made a big game that was good all the way across the sky, and that changed it. And I think, again, you can feel it in some of these other BGS games where you can feel like there were moments where they would just hand wave it away and be like, it's fine. You don't need to add more to that quest. It's fine, because it's about the quantity of the content. Like we don't need to try that much harder. And even you can tell with the hiring, like a lot of these other companies, they will hire writers that worked on The Witcher 3, or they'll hire writers from Rockstar or programmers from Rockstar. I just read a whole story written about how Naughty Dog just hired one of the physics programmers from Rockstar and a bunch of other companies that have had really robust physics systems. And they hired him, and it's like a breaking news story because they're adding his talents to their talent pool to make something for Intergalactic Heretic Prophet. With Bethesda, I feel like you never hear those stories. You never hear about them hiring some talented person from another studio, because I don't think they widen the tent that much. Like, they bring in low-level people and they bring in new people to help with some of the grunt work and stuff. But I feel like you never hear about high-level designers coming in and getting added to the team. Like it's pretty much only the veterans, for better or worse, that are in charge of designing these games.
The Witcher 3 side quests set a new standard. Before this, Bethesda's side quests were typically simple fetch quests. Get my helmet from this cave, and that was fine, but Witcher 3 changed that. Every side quest had its own story with a beginning, middle, and multiple endings. There were twists, dilemmas, and real choices. Whether it was a contract or a side quest, none were generic. Each had unique characters, voice actors, and dedicated map areas.
A lot of them use repeat voice actors, which is one of the common complaints about The Witcher 3 is that there's like 4 voices for the bandits, you know, across the entirety of the continent. It's just the same guys over and over again. But I get what you mean. Yeah, it's a crucial thing to understand is that The Witcher 3, their novel idea was that they wanted specifically every side quest to have a story. And nowadays that sounds like no duh, but for the time that was pretty revolutionary. Like that was kind of a bold idea because it was typically just stuff like go pick me 15 lilac berries and then I can make a potion. Why do you need the potion? Shut up. Go get the berries. Like that was the extent of the depth. It was just busy work basically, but that's all you had ever experienced yet. But with The Witcher 3, they introduced this idea that every quest should have a story tied to it, and it revolutionized the open world genre because people were like, oh my God, this is so much better.
Some would last for hours. The writing was so strong that many of these optional quests left a deeper impact than main stories would in other games. They weren't just filler. They were emotionally rich, morally complex, and had consequences that could affect the world and its endings. Take Fyke Isle as an example. Kira...
Dude, I love this whole sequence. I love everything about it. Probably my favorite example of a side quest in The Witcher 3, though, it's probably the one... pretty much everybody encounters it. You remember you're like brewing the swallow, the potion swallow. It's the prompt to do that with the herbalist in White Orchard. And she's like, brew the potion and then I can give it to this girl who's attacked in the dead of night trying to meet her lover. And it might heal her. It might also make her death excruciating and make her way worse before she dies. And so you can choose to give it to her. You go, you collect the items, you brew the potion, and then even at that point you can choose to not give it to her. And even if you don't talk to the quest giver and you just leave, the girl will still just die because you didn't do anything. Like the quest doesn't just sit there forever. But if you give her the potion and then you go on playing the game, because it's like you give her the potion and then it's like, we'll see what happens, and you move on, you can come across her betrothed dozens of hours later in one of the military camps in the corner of the map, and he comes up to you and says, you're the one that gave her that potion. He recognizes you. And he says, I don't know if I should curse you or thank you, because it fixed her, so she's like alive now, but she's also like kind of comatose and just kind of a vegetable basically. Like it changed her forever. But he was like a fascinating thing. And if you didn't go to that camp, you never would have met that guy and he never would have told you what happened. And it's such a fascinating little thing that they even anticipated players wanting to find out something more about it, you know? And so plenty of players gave her the potion and never saw that guy, never found out what happened, but just moved on. And I love that. I love that. You know, the idea that anytime you go anywhere, there could be a tie into something you did dozens of hours earlier that you might have even forgotten about. I love that kind of thing. Same thing when you go to Skellige and there's that one lady that you can basically get sentenced to death through various options. And if she ends up getting sentenced to death as punishment, she's just taken away. But you can find her chained to a rock in the harbor while sailing around on your boat. It's kind of tucked away, but you can find her strapped, chained up to the rock to be killed by the birds and the waves and everything. It's amazing. All those little details, everything they encountered, you know, it's very, very good.
Sends you to investigate a haunted island using a lamp that was made solely for this quest. You explore the tower, uncover a tragic story, and then interact with a ghost and make a decision on whether to help them or not, each choice leading to different cutscenes and world impacts. And it's entirely missable. Completing it can unlock even more quests from Kira or other characters like the Pella, which then branch into other quests.
Or you can have a, you know, you take Kira Metz out right there in the courtyard.
CD Projekt Red crafted these quests with the care of a main storyline. The writing was deep, characters were layered, and decisions mattered. Compared to Skyrim's side quests, there was no contest. And crucially, Witcher 3 didn't sacrifice quantity. It had over 200 side quests too, but all far superior. This redefined what a side quest was. Since then, we see it in games like Final Fantasy XVI, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the list goes on. So many games have followed this formula.
And I think that this is, the word he used is crucial. It redefined it. Prior to this, side quests were just something that you did to basically fill out gameplay time and pad it out between main story missions. Like, it basically was just padding. And people were okay with it because it was more. It was more content. But after The Witcher 3, it became clear that you could have, and maybe the better example, even, I know we're talking about Bethesda, which is why he's looking at Skyrim, because it was the previous game before The Witcher 3, but maybe the more direct comparison would be like Dragon Age Inquisition. And that won Game of the Year in 2014, the year before. And Dragon Age Inquisition, I don't know if you have played Dragon Age Inquisition anytime recently, but it is it is a game of its time. I'll tell you what, it is filled with busy work, with tedium out the ass. The whole thing was sold on basically being a 100-hour plus game. Not about quality. It was just about quantity. You know, it was, I understand some people like it, but it was a game about quantity first and foremost. And I think that Witcher 3 just totally shook it up and showed what was possible. Showed what was possible. And it redefined what players expected from side content. And it was like a breath of fresh air, you know, in comparison. And so I think there was kind of a double-edged sword with Fallout 4, because they kind of did things largely the same old. But The Witcher 3, the critics who had played it already knew what was possible. And so they looked at Fallout 4 and were like, it's kind of lacking in comparison to what Witcher 3 just did. And then the players who played Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 were also like, something's just off with it. It feels off. And they play The Witcher 3 and they get the answer. They see what was possible. And then like, oh God, yeah, there's no competition. It's just a double-edged bing, bang, boom. You know.
Now, side quests are expected to be meaningful, with unique stories and real decision making. Before Witcher 3, side quests were just basic bonus content, busy work. After it, they became essential. What was once a Bethesda strength was now exposed as outdated. Another standout aspect of The Witcher 3 was its characters and writing. The main story spanned dozens of hours and delivered an unforgettable experience, but what truly elevated it were the characters. Lambert, Eskel, Ciri, Vesemir, Yennefer, Triss all had distinct personalities, goals, and dedicated voice actors. Even side characters that would typically be generic NPCs in other games were given full attention. Take the Bloody Baron. At first you pity him, his family left him, and now he seems like he's a bit devastated. Later on you discover he's an alcoholic, and he abused them. But then you learn that he went off to war, and as a result of the trauma he experienced turned to the bottle, and his wife cheated on him whilst he was away. Is he a villain or a broken man? The game leaves that to you. He's flawed, complex, and
all of it.
Human. His story is only a tiny fraction of the game, but it leaves a deep impression, and he's just one of many. Witcher 3 introduced hundreds of characters with their own storylines and managed to weave it all together to create one of the most memorable storylines in gaming history. Witcher 3 introduced hundreds of characters and storylines, all crafted with similar care. This was massive when you consider what was previously acceptable.
Well, and again, it's mature themes and respecting your audience to be able to think about stuff like with the Bloody Baron questline. The Bloody Baron is a terrible person. He has reasons for being terrible. Doesn't make him any less terrible, but it's just gray. It's not black and white. All of Bethesda's stuff ends up being just black and white. This guy killed people because he's a raider. Well, why is he raiding? Does he have a backstory? No, his name is let me check my notes. Kills a lot with a gun. That's his name. And then his sidekick, slash a stab, likes to go in and slash people. And the crime boss of their entire bandit camp is called "Give me money and I'll eat you." That's like the extent of Emil's writing on it, you know? And it's like, yeah, why am I connecting more with the Witcher story compared to The Witcher 3's? It's because like The Witcher 3 respects you to be able to understand it. And I don't think that they're trying, like, I don't think Bethesda's trying to disrespect their players by writing stuff in such an overly simplistic way. I just think they literally don't know how to do it any different. I think it just literally is like the capacity of their writing staff. But like I said, there's plenty of other studios and companies that will hire people to fill in that void and give them the expertise to take it up a notch. Todd has never done that, from what I can tell. There's no reporting on them bringing in expert writers that worked on really fantastic stuff. Elsewhere, it's all just, nope, we're going to do things the same way we've always done them. And then you end up with a Starfield that learned precisely 0 lessons from the feedback on Fallout 4. Like literally 0 lessons. They just did everything over again and were shocked. People were like, what is this?
Skyrim's characters were often one-dimensional, they had reused voice actors, and they very much lacked personality. Witcher 3 not only matched Bethesda in scope, it far exceeded them in depth. The writing was mature, layered, and morally grey. From Fyke Isle to the Baron, that tone was consistent throughout. Some dialogue that was written bordered on poetic. Just listen to this.
I thought your mutations cleansed you of humanity, stripped you of emotions.
You don't need mutations to strip men of their humanity. I've seen plenty of examples.
Before Witcher...
It's just casually dropping that line while in a dialogue tree. It's like, oh my God, I'm sweating. Oh God. But the whole game is like that, dude. Every line is carefully thought over. Whereas in Starfield, like you just kind of sit there. Like it knocks your brain out. Like, you know, there's the term, I remember watching a Mythbusters episode on it. They have like, you know, the different frequencies, sound frequencies, and they're like, yeah, white noise is this frequency, and then like gray noise is this frequency, and it kind of turns your brain to mush. And like Mythbusters did an episode on the brown note, which was a frequency that made you poop yourself. Starfield is like all of those notes together. It's just for like 50 hours of gameplay. And people were used to it because it was just, that's how it was. If you wanted to play a big game, you had to deal with it. But then they got a taste of what a symphony is like with The Witcher 3. And they're like, oh, why would I do things any differently? This is great.
This kind of storytelling was reserved for linear games like The Last of Us or Uncharted. Games that could focus more on the story because it was already predetermined and it could be more focused. Witcher 3 brought it to open...
Oh, thank you, Katie. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Open worlds, and didn't just tell one incredible story, but hundreds. Contrast that to Skyrim. Only 30% of players even finished that game's main quest, despite it only taking a couple of hours. Why? Because the writing wasn't engaging enough to keep them hooked. That was acceptable back then, until Witcher 3 showed that not only could we have a giant open world, but we could have an incredible story alongside it.
I think it's the difference between junk food and, Skyrim, I think, was kind of a junk food platter. So they had some stuff that was considered technically the main course. And it's like, oh yeah, we have these Subway catered sandwiches in the center of the table of the spread. But everything else is like a little popcorn here, a little Skittles there, some Oreos over there, maybe some potato chips over here. And they have a bunch of stuff. And that's Skyrim as a product. It's that whole spread. And some people ate, the sandwiches and had a good time and maybe popped some chips and some candy and that stuff. But a lot of people just went for the candy. And a lot of people just went over here and did this. A lot of people went over and just did that. And so they only got little slivers of the total package. But because it was junk food, they were still satisfied. And I think that's what, Skyrim was really, really good at, was just having such a wide spread that no matter what you were coming into it for, you could get it and leave satisfied and happy. But with The Witcher 3, people got a taste of what a steak is like. And you could come here and you could have a 5-course meal with a big ass steak as the main story, and even the sides were really freaking good and carefully put together, and it just totally changed the experience. It gave people a taste of what like a 5-course delicious chef crafted meal was like in comparison to a spread of snacks at a birthday party for a 3-year-old.
And then there's the decision making. Every side quest, main quest, and side event involved real impactful choices. Betray a scout leader, she might come back to get you later. Do a certain quest at the right time, it will open up different options for you to change the story. We'd seen choices and decision making in games like The Walking Dead up until then, which actually won Game of the Year, but that was a linear and limited story. Its mechanics were very basic and it was really on rails, and its decision making mechanics were the core principle and the main draw of the game, the reason why it was so beloved. Witcher 3 managed to match that quality and did it in a vast RPG open world setting, and the main story had 36 different endings, many determined by choices made hours earlier. It's on par with games like Baldur's Gate 3 in terms of scope, and back in 2015, that was groundbreaking. Meanwhile, Bethesda was simplifying. Fallout 4's dialogue wheel gave the illusion of choice, but often offered 4 versions of the same option. Like when you finally confront Kellogg, you can attack, 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 or attack. True choice was gone. Skyrim stripped it back so far.
Well, and even with Fallout 4, one of the best examples of how things were simplified is by going and trying to kill NPCs or quest givers. You know what happens if you boot up Fallout New Vegas? Maybe, do I have it installed? Can I do this live? Can we do a live demo? I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something that doesn't really work in future Bethesda games. Obviously, this Bethesda Softworks, not Bethesda Game Studios. This was Obsidian making a Fallout game, but it's the same tool set, and this came after Fallout 3. I could also do this in Fallout 3 as well, but you know, this also serves the point. Ba ba ba, dun dun. I'm just gonna load a random save. Okay, I don't know where we are in this save file. Midnight showing at the Mojave Drive. Okay, it's not important. What we're doing here, we have all of these, like all of these different points. Okay, there's all these different points. I don't know how far in the game I am. Decently far. Okay, but all these different places. All these have different characters in them. All of them have different stories to tell. All of that, right? Let me go fast travel over to Good Springs, and I'll just show you what we're gonna do. Okay. Whoops. Oh, they're raiding. She's just punching people. I'm gonna hit tilde, and this brings up a prompt right here. Okay? Behind the chat. I'm just gonna type kill all. And this, as you would expect, is going to kill all NPCs in the entire game. They will all drop dead. If you do this in Fallout 4, some NPCs will drop dead. A lot of them will. But many of them will just drop to all 4s and be incapacitated because they're called quest givers, and they are determined as invulnerable. You cannot kill them because it would break quests, because it would cause you to fail them. And they can't have that. They spend a lot of time making quests. You know what Fallout New Vegas lets you do? Even my companion has dropped dead. No, she's back up. She's fine. All of these people, they died before this, but she dropped dead. Okay. He's had a better day. Let's go inside. Let's go inside. Everybody's gone. Everybody dead. It don't matter where we go or what we do. Everything's gone. Everything's ruined. It didn't trigger all the failings. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, is it because these are... yeah, it's because those are DLC ones. All of these, you see how they just all failed? It's because everybody's dead now. Everybody's dead. Everything's ruined. But they let you do it. Like, granted, not everybody's going to be going into the console commands to kill everybody in the game. But the point is, if you individually wanted to kill a quest giver, you could do that. If you wanted to you're role playing as a guy that loses control and just loses his mind and goes on a murder spree, you could role play in that way and the game would let you. In these newer games, you can't. They won't let you do that at all. And to be fair, Witcher 3 won't let you have total freedom of homicide, but it makes up for that with narrative complexity and depth and everything. When he's mentioning that Fallout 4 was getting streamlined and simplified, this is an example of it. They were actively removing player choice, not just in like the dialogue systems, but even in something as simple as being able to kill a quest giver to fail a quest line. You couldn't even do that anymore.
That sometimes you had no options at all. At the time, this was fine. We didn't expect that level of complexity in massive open world games, but Witcher 3 shattered that idea. Now we expect it. Games like Baldur's Gate 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, even Tainted Grail all build on that foundation. When players try Fallout 4 or Starfield today, the lack of real decision making is obvious, and it was Witcher 3 that made it so.
And some people will say, well, Luke, Fallout 4, Starfield, they're not trying to be these open world RPGs or anything. But I think that's part of the problem with how the games are sold. I think the terminology Todd and BGS and everybody uses is terminology that's used in the discussion of games like Baldur's Gate, like The Witcher 3. And so naturally the comparisons are going to be drawn. And maybe part of it is also the IP. Historically, Fallout and Elder Scrolls have been role-playing games. So if Bethesda now is going to try and say, well, we're not making role-playing games, we're making something else. We're making sandboxes or whatever they want to call them. You can do that, but I think the expectation will still be that you're going to try to compete on the same playing field as your previous games did,
And none of this even touches on The Witcher 3's use of cutscenes and motion capture. Traditionally, cinematic storytelling was reserved for linear games. Metal Gear Solid 4, for example, that game had 8 hours of cutscenes, but it was a linear story once again. And then Witcher 3 came along with over 9 hours of cutscenes, despite it being a giant open world RPG. This was unheard of, and we soon saw other open world games adopt the approach. Even the game's dialogue system, gold options to progress, white to inquire, that became the new blueprint, influencing games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Hogwarts Legacy.
And I'll defend this till the day I die. AC Odyssey is a very impressive fantasy RPG. As an Assassin's Creed game, it's kind of hot donkey ass. But as like a fantasy RPG, it is ridiculous how huge that game is and how many branching options and dialogue choices there are. It's kind of ridiculous. If you don't believe me, go try the game yourself. It'll blow your mind.
Bethesda, meanwhile, struggled to adapt. Their lack of cutscenes started to make their games look dated. No one questioned Skyrim's absence of cinematic storytelling in 2011. But now, players wonder why Starfield doesn't have it. Once again, Witcher 3 had raised the bar. And then there's the world design. Ask any Skyrim fan and they'll admit that many towns in the game felt basic, just a few houses and sparse NPCs. Even the major cities never quite felt like actual cities. Witcher 3 changed.
They were kind of supposed to be... it's almost like a miniature version. Like it's supposed to represent a building or represent a city. It's like, yeah, this isn't a one-to-one town. Like we didn't think, okay, who's the town sheriff? Who's the town bailiff? Where did the bankers live? Where's the rich district? Where's the poor district? They didn't do any of that. They're like, okay, here's like 4 buildings. And I remember years and years and years ago watching a video of some dude that went through and tried to figure out if Whiterun could actually function. And he was like, so this is where these people would live. This is where these people would live. But this would cause a problem because the jail's over here. And like he broke it all down. It was very, very good. I wish I could remember who did it. It was a long time ago. But, I don't think they were trying that hard because I don't think they felt like the eyes were on them to get that right or to think those things through. With The Witcher 3, though, like they realistically recreated, or not recreated, created a city like this, and it feels like it could actually function as a city. But I don't think Bethesda has ever felt the need to push themselves that far.
That too. Its map was 3 times bigger and offered access to different countries.
T-Brack, thank you.
Was the main city, and it was massive, alive, and immersive. A type of city that we'd never seen in a game before.
Also, King's Court. I don't know if I shouted that one out. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for that sub, too.
When you first arrive, it's overwhelming in a good way. Streets are crowded, merchants haggle by day, musicians perform by night, and criminals lurk in alleyways. It feels like a real place, not just a video game environment. Compare that to Diamond City from Fallout 4. This was meant to be the capital of a post-apocalyptic state, but when you play it, it feels barren and lifeless.
Well, it feels like a town or like a shopping center, for a town. It doesn't feel like an actual city. Even something like Megaton, I think worked in Fallout 3 because it was so small and intimate, even though it's just... It feels like, again, each thing is meant to be representative. Like Megaton represents this bigger city. And you can imagine if it was turned into a movie or something, it would be way bigger. But in the context of the game, it had to be smaller and more toned down. But I just think, again, compared to the competition, it's just not on that level.
Before Witcher 3, we accepted this. We couldn't see through the illusion. After Witcher 3 came out, expectations changed. Suddenly, we couldn't see Diamond City the same way. Now we see Saint Denis in Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate in Baldur's Gate 3, and Kuttenberg in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Somehow, Bethesda is still designing cities like it's 2011. Starfield's towns felt more like movie sets with awkward NPCs and lifeless interactions.
Yeah, nothing's thought through. The elevators go sideways and upside down. They'll take you across the map or up and down. Like none of it's carefully thought through. There's entire shops and stuff. I didn't visit in Starfield until like 60 hours in because you have to go through this door and around the corner into an elevator down to a separate area. And it's all just so convoluted. They didn't even have maps in the game until 6 months after the fact. It's crazy.
The Witcher 3 didn't just build a bigger world, it built one that felt truly alive. In Bethesda's games, the world revolves around the player. In Witcher 3, it feels like it exists regardless of you. That's a massive leap, and it changed the genre forever. So after Witcher 3 released,
I think that's a good observation. The idea that Bethesda tries to make everything so player-centric that it ends up making something that feels fake and synthetic and almost like bizarre. It doesn't feel, it's like surreal, because the characters aren't actually going through day-to-day lives. They don't have their own personal struggles or whatever. They're just there to entertain you or to try and keep you busy instead of it being a world for you to navigate.
Everything would change for Bethesda. Witcher 3 offered far better side quests, better storylines, better writing, and more memorable characters. Bethesda stuck with their old fetch quest formula in Starfield, like being sent to fetch a drink from across the galaxy.
Yes, and I'm sorry. This was like one of the things I think that doesn't get talked about enough in Starfield, and I'm sorry to focus on this again, but this is like the second video in like a month that we've seen that has referenced a fetch quest where you go across the galaxy to get something stupid. Todd described Starfield as like hard sci-fi, which means that it's not meant to be just totally high fantasy sci-fi. It's not meant to be something where it's just like, yeah, we can go 15 times the speed of light. We'll just have like, you talk to the computer and the wall and then it just creates food out of nothing. Like, we're not trying to do that. It's supposed to be grounded and feel like it's not that far in the future. Like it's somewhat possible. And yet in the quest lines, they are having you go on intergalactic journeys in order to get coffee or in order to go and grab like some specific amount of rocks for this one delivery. Or, hey, I need this thing, this particular schematic that's on a mining camp that's, 5 star systems away. Can you just go grab it for me and bring it back? I'll give you like 50 credits if you do it. It's just like, what are we doing? How am I supposed to stay immersed in the world if somebody is asking you to fetch? As you can see, look at the objective. Deliver a Terra Brew cappuccino to Donna Rain. You are being sent to deliver a coffee. Like, what are we doing?
Unacceptable. Witcher 3 had deep, nuanced writing.
Yeah, in The Witcher 3, you're being sent to try and perform a ritual on a stillborn child after a broken man with PTSD beat his wife because he went into a drunken stupor. Like, do you see what I mean when I say that, like, one of these games and one side of this treats their audience like adults and the other one treats them like middle schoolers? You know, it's just the level of depth is so significant. It's kind of jarring.
Starfields felt juvenile. Unacceptable.
Perfect. Juvenile. Exactly.
Choices in Starfield had no real impact compared to Witcher 3. Unacceptable. And cities in Witcher 3 felt alive, whereas Starfields were hollow sets. You get the point.
Well, I also think again, like the fact that Starfield didn't have maps, city maps specifically, until significantly after launch, I think that's so telling, because you would think creating a map of the city you're building would be one of the first things you do. If you're going to make a city, you would literally map it out. But they didn't have like any of that. And I understand it's different to turn it into like a game UI version or whatever. But you think that one of the first things you would do would be map it out. And then you're like, hey, let's just put this into the game so people can use it to navigate the city. But I don't think they even made a map for the city. I think they literally, I think you're right, Hibimura. I think they eyeballed the city. I think they went and were like, you make the like fancy district, you make the spaceport district, you make the, I guess, like residential district. That makes sense to have one of those. And this is some of the artwork we're going to be inspired by. And they handed that out. Everybody went off and they worked on it for a month. And then they came together and like, yeah, and we'll just stitch it together with load screens. You want to go to the district over there, you load screen and you go in. So continuity is not that important. Things don't have to line up because you'll just load into it. That works in 2011. People notice it now.
404 donated
You know?
$10 through Super Chat. The side quest from NPC interaction felt superficial, like, man, I love coffee. Can you go get this specific brew from this space station? Hummy? I literally don't care if you live or die.
I literally don't care if you drop dead this very instant. I literally don't care. But yeah, you're asking me to go fetch you some dark Java roast. Like what? What do we do? And again, I'm going to travel across the galaxy and you're going to pay me 50 credits or let me keep the coffee. And you would think, well, maybe this just leads into a quest line that's really rewarding. I get there to deliver the coffee, and then it turns out somebody was jumped and killed because the coffee is actually a secret space drug, and they were using me as a mule to deliver the space drug across the galaxy, thinking I'm just delivering stupid coffee. But it turns out I'm actually now involved in an intergalactic drug smuggling system and scheme, and now I've got to fight my way out of it before the big kingpin comes and kills me. That would be interesting, but there is literally nothing that deep in all of Starfield or Fallout 4 or Skyrim. Like, all of the depth is exactly what it appears as. It is no deeper than that. It is literally, no, you're just delivering coffee. Yeah. You remember how you can choose your origin at the start of the game and you can pick different starting perks and stuff? And it's like, I chose one where it was like my family. My family lived in New Atlantis or whatever, and I could go and visit them. They lived in the residential district. I went and I found them and I talked to them, and they have their own little apartment. It's just, you go load screen into an elevator, load screen up to their floor, you walk into their house, you talk to them, there's a little bit of dialogue, you send them money that's automatically subtracted from your inventory regularly, like once in game week. And then I tried visiting them multiple times throughout the rest of my run, and they would have no dialogue for me. They would just walk past me, and I couldn't even like talk with them. It was just exactly superficial. There was literally just enough depth there for Todd to show it in the presentation, and that's it. No extra care or thought went into it. It literally was just enough to show it and say that it's there, and then nothing more. Nothing more.
Before which
Logan says with the 2, the faces in Starfield looks much than The Witcher 3. I'm guessing we're going to say worse. Maybe you're saying better. I don't know. Zoob, thank you for the 5. Ubisoft games continue to be podcast game junk food, yet AC Odyssey, Valhalla, and Shadows sold so many copies, to say nothing about MMO and Gacha Grind. Yeah, well, people underestimate AC just in general. They underestimate AC, and I think they really underestimate, what was the other one we were talking about? Games that sell ridiculously well. Monster Hunter, of course, sells really, really well. Mafia. It was Mafia. Duh. Mafia has a big fan base too, but AC is on another level. People think, in the hardcore, like, WoW community, like, or they'll think in some of the streaming community just in general. They just don't realize how big the casual audience is for AC. Like, Assassin's Creed is a massive franchise and sells millions upon millions upon millions of copies because it has a huge appeal to the casual crowd. Like, they're not the ones watching game streamers regularly, but they're out there and they spend a lot of money on them for sure. Absolutely. Logan, thank you for the 2. Fallout 5 is going to be such a shit show. Dude, I don't think they're making it after Elder Scrolls 6. I made that video on the main channel explaining why, but Todd, basically, long story short, Todd said back in like 2021, 2022, he said, yeah, and after Elder Scrolls 6, of course, we have Fallout 5, heavily implying it's next. And then just in like 2023, right before Starfield, he was doing another interview with IGN, and he says, yeah, I want to just clarify that. When I said that, I meant it's coming, of course, eventually after Elder Scrolls 6 at some point in the future. And I'm like, why is he walking it back? Why is he walking it back? If they were releasing and doing Fallout 5 right after, why wouldn't he just say that? And there's been multiple other times where people have asked him, are you doing Fallout 5 next? Like, is that what's coming next? And he's like, we're not going to talk about dates. I'm not sure they're doing Fallout 5 next. And you might be like, well, he just wants to be coy. He had no problem being very clear with their schedules the last decade. Why would that change now? Just like, I'm kidding. I was actually doing Fallout 5. I don't know. Something funky is going on there. Anyway.
Witcher 3, these flaws were tolerated. We didn't expect both scope and depth. We thought that you couldn't have quantity and quality. The Witcher 3 shattered that belief. It showed that you could have it all. And ever since, the standards have changed. Other developers took notice. Sir Toby of Warhorse credited Witcher 3 for influencing Kingdom Come's quest design and stated Kuttenberg's design was inspired by Novigrad. Baldur's Gate 3 pushed choice and consequence even further, and Red Dead Redemption 2 delivered all of that and more. The bar kept rising. Bethesda once was the gold standard, The Witcher 3 of 2011, but they didn't evolve. When Witcher 3 launched, it outclassed Bethesda in every area they used to lead in. Since then, expectations have changed. Now, when Starfield's story drags, we zone out. When we get another lazy quest, we ignore it. When we visit the city in Neon, we laugh. Players now demand more. Before Witcher 3, we accepted shallow stories, basic quests, and static worlds. After that, it was no longer good enough. Bethesda hasn't caught up. While games like Baldur's Gate 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Elden Ring keep pushing the genre forward, Bethesda still builds games with the same writers, the same engine, and the same 2011 mindset. They miss the lessons that The Witcher 3 taught, whereas other studios like Warhorse and Larian learned from it and not only implemented their changes, but improved on them. If Bethesda wants to compete again, they need to evolve. Starfield proved that they haven't.
I agree, but I think to evolve, you have to, like all the examples he mentioned, you talk to Sir Toby, he says, oh no, we were inspired by The Witcher 3. We saw The Witcher 3, we said, oh, we can do it this way. Okay, let's try that. And they did it. And it was way better. You know, it worked great. But they had to have that moment where they said, we want to try that. We want to do what they're doing. Let's try that. For Bethesda, they still, I have never heard in the last 7 years, I haven't heard Todd say that anything is wrong. The one exception was in 2018. It might have actually been E3 2019. I think it was E3 2019. He specifically was talking about Fallout 76, and he said we got some much deserved criticism.
A type of game we'd never done before. Had a lot of difficulties at launch, and we got a lot of well-deserved criticism. But the team kept working on it, and you kept playing it. And through all of that, something amazing has happened. It's thanks to all of you. This game has one of the best online communities
And then we're back to promoting it. Right after that. So I don't, like, there's moments where he might say that something went wrong or we needed to fix something. But in general, it's just no. Just focus on the stuff that we're happy with and move on from there. And so I don't think Todd sees anything wrong. I don't think he has any problem with how things are going. I think people mention shortcomings in Starfield. He says, yeah, but we had the most players of any game we've ever put out. We had the highest player counts. We had the least number of crashes. I made more money. I bought so many more watches and jeans. I'm doing great. I was talking to a guy that saw Todd out at some event, and he said, oh, Todd is so funny. He shows up and he's wearing his classic outfit. He's got his nice watch on, which I respect because I like nice watches too. But he drives up in like a big old sports car. I don't know sports cars, so I don't know if it's a McLaren or a Lambo or if it's just, I don't know. But he pulls up in it and like hops out. The valet takes the car away. He comes in. He owns the place. He's all over the place. He's doing very, very well. I don't think he sees any problem with this stuff. I don't think he sees any problem with it. Show us your wallpaper. It's my favorite picture ever taken. It's my favorite picture ever taken. It's so good. Anyway, finish this out. Let's finish it out.
The Witcher 3 wasn't just a great game, it was a seismic shift in what we can expect from open-world RPGs. It redefined side quests, elevated writing to cinematic levels, made player choice generally impactful, and delivered a world that felt alive and breathing, not built around the player, but existing despite them. Bethesda didn't fall off overnight. They were simply surpassed by a studio that dared to do more.
Yeah, but they can make characters that look like they're wearing diapers for hats. Can CDPR do that? Didn't think so.
And succeeded. Since then, games like Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 have all taken notes and pushed the genre forward, while Bethesda has clung to a formula that no longer satisfies modern gamers. The legacy of The Witcher 3 is...
Yeah, officially lock it in. Todd can't satisfy me anymore. Can't do it. Can't do it. I'm left wanting. I'm left hungry for more.
Isn't just its own success, it's how it raised the standard for every game that came after. And as we stand on the brink of a new generation with The Witcher 4 and The Elder Scrolls 6.
Sorry, I just take it in.
As we stand
Not
on
that.
the brink of
this. You can also take in Priscilla. I don't know. I can't think about The Witcher 4 too much because I love The Witcher 3 so much that the idea we could get something that takes that up a level breaks my brain. Like I'm a firm believer that hype makes you stupid, and when you get hyped, it puts blinders on. And I try to be clear with you guys when I am a big fan of an IP or a franchise, because I don't want you to think that I'm looking at something in this like totally robotic way. Like I'm a fan of games, okay? There are IP and franchises that I am a fan of that I like, and I want them to be really, really good. I told you guys with like KCD 2, I was like, I really like Kingdom Come. So just being clear with you, I really want this to be good. I'm very excited for this. I hope they pull it off, but I'm looking at this closely because I really want it to be good. Thankfully, it ended up being amazing. But with this, with The Witcher 4, that's another one where I'm like, better not screw this up. And I'm sure they're of the same mind. I mean, they know how many eyes are on them after Cyberpunk. But my God, dude, can you just imagine? Oh, it's going to be... I'm so ready. I'm so ready. It's probably still 2 to 3 years off, but still.
Of a new generation with The Witcher 4 and The Elder Scrolls 6 on the horizon, the question isn't just who can make a great RPG, but who can define the future of the genre once again. But anyway, that's it for this one, but what do you guys think? Do you feel Witcher 3 was that impactful, or do you feel like I'm overselling it? Do you think that Bethesda can catch up? And which game are you more excited for?
I want to be very clear. And again, great video to AVV Gaming. Get over there, get subbed. The video will be linked in the description of this clip, and then I'll also post it in chats right now. Get over there, give him a sub. Really insightful as always, and very well put together video. But to answer that question, do I think they can evolve? Yes, they can. Do they want to? No, I don't see any reason to think they do. You listen to the discourse, I feel like most game devs, you hear them talking, they're like, we're constantly trying to figure out what the next thing is, where we're going next, what we can do to innovate and to move and keep things exciting. Like, we're constantly trying to figure that out. I feel like you don't, I can't think of a single time where I've heard Todd say anything approaching that, because I just don't think he thinks that way. I don't think he sees the need to be hungry. I don't think he sees the need to be cautious. I don't think he sees any problem at all. I think he's totally satisfied with where things are, and doesn't feel the need for any sort of push. And if you're thinking, well, that's what you get when you're making AAA stuff. No, dude, GTA's publisher, the guys behind Grand Theft Auto 6, describe their methodology as running scared and always looking over their shoulders, trying to constantly innovate, keep an eye on other ventures, other directions for games, other developers and what they're doing. That's what the guys behind GTA 6 are saying, that they're always scared, that they're always trying to make sure they're considering how they can make improvements and do stuff differently. But do you think Todd ever thinks about that? I don't think so. So I think they can shake it up. I think they could take it up a notch. I just don't think they feel the need. I don't think they feel pushed to do it. I think they're totally satisfied with how things are. And I think that it's just, this is how it's going to be, unfortunately. Maybe they're going to blow us away. Maybe, we're going to see this Starfield expansion number 2 and it's going to blow us away and it'll be amazing and it'll instill confidence once more. But I'll believe it when I see it. He took my thing. Red flag.